Hello, guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures. And today, we're doing part 61 of our Jurassic World Evolution 2 mod spotlights, where we take a look at some of the wonderful mods people have been making and compare them to the real life fossil counterparts. So, today, I know I've been putting this off a little bit, but we've got here the Sauropod pack, or the accurate Sauropod cosmetic pack. This was done by HawkL1215, who did like the Utahraptor one, and he also done the Ceratopsian and the Stegosaur one recently, and also did a feathered cosmetic pack, which is really cool. So next up, well, we're going to talk about it. So I want to explain a little bit of taxonomy of some of these species first. So we're going to be starting with Mamenchisaurus, which has 6 species introduced to it, but that might not be the case since Mamenchisaurus is considered a waste bucket taxon. So that's a taxon that a lot of people just name species or just put specimens into just to like put it somewhere. And another great example, other than Mamenchisaurus, is things like Megalosaurus. Megalosaurus was kind of a waste bucket for a while. Everyone just kind of threw anything that looked like a theropod into Megalosaurus, and then kind of eventually, as we looked more into it, it was divided, and we got a lot more species in genera out of that. Same will probably happen to Mamenchisaurus eventually. Also, a great example in like the bigger way is Insectivora. So that's a group of mammals that include like shrews, tenrecs, all of those kind of small little shrewy things. But turns out, due to cladistics, and that was not a true group. And animals like elephant shrews and tenrecs are more closely related as athrotheas to like elephants and hyraxes, and then shrews are their own group. So it was, even though that was a grouping, it wasn't proven true by genetics, and that's why Insectivora was considered a waste bucket taxon, because everyone just thought, oh, they're little shrew things that eat insects, throw them in there. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. But enough on a little bit of taxonomy. So we're going to be starting off with species in alphabetical order. This one is Mamenchisaurus avarensis, I believe you say that. So let's have a little look at this guy. Right. Let's get a good look at you in the sun. Beautiful animal. How can you not love these sauropods? So this is, as I mentioned, Mamenchisaurus avarensis. I believe you say that. Yeah, that's how it's spelled. Anyvensis. That's how it's spelled. Oh, that's not what we wanted to do. Just get rid of the Y. Beautiful animal. So, this was described in 1996 by Zhenhe and colleagues. So the remains of this particular species was first discovered in 2 locations near the town of Longxizang in the Sichuan Basin. That was believed to be at least 5 to 6 individuals in one quarry, and at the second quarry, 4 individuals. So it is pretty much a composite. One of these specimens that was the holotype, and it shows about 2/3 of the articulated skeleton, though the others are kind of a little bit less well preserved. But the species gets its name from the Anyi County where it was discovered, and is known from the top of both the top of the Sunjin Formation and the bottom of the Piagen Formation. And very interestingly, uranium dating, so that's how you date things that are kind of within the age of dinosaurs. Like you have radiocarbon, that's good for like recent things. There's other isotopes that you can use to date things that are older. These guys are from the Shinjuan Formation at about 114 million years ago. So if it stays within Mamenchisaurus, that means Mamenchisaurus would have been around as a genus for 30 million years. And it makes it 30 million years younger than a lot of other Mamenchisaurus species. So it is actually considered unlikely that these guys are even a Mamenchisaurus species. Hence, as we mentioned, that's why they're kind of considered a waste bucket. So it's very likely that this is a species that's going to be renamed in the future. And the holotype specimen has 8 posterior vertebrae, dorsal vertebrae, the cleavy pelvis. Another specimen has like cervical vertebrae, And except for the digibodes, like the form is known and represented in multiple individuals. So we have a pretty good idea of what this guy looked like. And I have to say, I love the design of this guy. As we can see, it's got the spikes there, an interesting face that makes it a lot more distinct than a lot of the Mamenchisaurs coming up. I like the spikes on it as well, gives it another distinct. I also really love how the scale patterns, you can see we get some big scales on here, so big round ones, and then you can see these ones are a lot smaller. You see around the face there, you've almost got that keratin beak going on. I love the pattern as well. It's really come out wonderfully. And we got the correct feet. So probably only use it for this one, but we've got the correct feet. So a lot of these sauropods have horseshoe kind of fleshy pad feet like that with either a dew claw or not a dew claw. We'll explain that as we get a little bit later into the history because we've kind of started from the Jurassic and we're going to go into the later Cretaceous ones as well. And they've got these big toes, you can see that curve to the side there. The three of them, they're probably used for digging with a big fleshy pad under them, almost like an elephant. And then you can see that wonderful texture there and these lovely... I just love like the textures and stuff. This has really come out wonderfully. So this is Alvarensis, will you say that? So we're going to let you run off and do your thing. So you don't bother us. It's probably going to take a little while since these guys are sauropods. Alright, so next up we've got the type species. We've got M. constructus. So that's the next one. So here is the type species. This is M. constructus. A really, really cool guy. Oh, why are you doing that to me? Oh. Anyway, let's have a look at this guy. So M. constructus. This was a species discovered in 1952 on the construction site of the Yingting Highway in the Sichuan province of China and dates back to the late Jurassic or the Upper Sichuan Formation. And this is a partial skeleton that was later be named into Mamenchisaurus constructus because of the construction. It was in 1954 by the renowned scientist or Chinese paleontologist C.C. Young. And it was fragmented, but there was disorganized, but there is like vertebrae, chevrons, things like that, that we do kind of know. There's some limb materials, so we have a pretty good idea. But Mamenchisaurus, which means Mamenchi lizard, means kind of the horse, it means horse gate lizard or kind of horse gate brook lizard. So it's a really interesting name, a horse gate brook lizard. So that's how it means in Chinese and mixed with Latin as well. But yeah, really, really cool. In terms of size, M. constructus is kind of the midway. M. constructus is about 3 to 15 meters long and weighed about 5 tons. I forgot to mention Amargasaurus, but those guys, a little bit bigger. They got to about 21 meters, or even some estimates put 25 meters, so about middle of the range for sauropods. These guys, a little bit smaller. Constructus about 13 to 15 meters and 5 tons. And the neck on this guy would have been about 4 to 5 meters long. So that's another really interesting fact. Amarasaurus would have, Amarensis would have been a bit bigger. We say that, but yeah, really, really cool. I see another great way to distinguish them. You can see this one's a bit different, also being bigger, a little bit smaller. As I mentioned, these guys were probably no more than 15, 20 meters, like real mid-sized to small sauropod range. Got that more rounded face. Really, really cool. I like the patterns on it. Especially like the different textures as well. You can see like the back's quite rough. And you can see about on the sides there. You also got the correct feet and everything going on. And the big feet going on. Really love. And I also really love a lot on these is the texture as well. So you can see kind of the large kind of skin flaps and creases and stuff like that. I think that really fits these sauropods so well. Hakial really did a wonderful job with these sauropods. Knocked it out the park. So yep, we've got the next one. These are in alphabetical order. It's not like Discovery, things like that. As I mentioned, Constructus is the holotype. So next up, we have got Honsiensis, which is a really, really cool one. So Hodgkinsis was actually the second species of Mamenchisaurus described. Really, really cool animal here. So this was discovered in 1972. It was described by Young and Sinjal, who described the second species of Mamenchisaurus, which is this guy, Mamenchisaurus honchuensis. And this was found in a village near Hinshan, north of Chongjian, originally part of the Shenzhen province. Forgive me for my butchering of Mandarin or Chinese. I'm definitely not the best at it, but that's all right. So this was originally found along the Fu River on the slope of a mountain, which is quite interesting. They were very close in age to M. constructus and dated to at least the late Jurassic. So, and locals first discovered its remains sometime before the Chinese Revolution, and then basically abandoned it and left it to weather in situ. And it actually did took until 1957 to kind of go back and start digging up this animal again, which is quite interesting. So the holotype is actually almost complete in articulate vertebral column, which is almost entirely preserved, so there's lots of vertebrae, things like that, though there are some missing. And also missing is the forelimbs and the skull from the holotype. But there are other specimens known of M. Hodgkinsis which actually have skull and stuff like that, which as you can see represented here. There's also one that was described that was originally put as M. constructus, however was reassigned to M. Hodgkinsis as a paratype, and was quite a bit smaller and contained less material, but it also contained some materials missing from the type specimen. And then in 2001, there was another one found and referred to M. Hodgkinsis, which was found in 1995 in the Hudong New District in Zhejiang City. And the specimen was actually nearly complete and mostly articulate and had lots of features including a skull, pectoral girdle, and forelimb material as well, though there has been some doubt cast in a 2020 phylogeny analysis that referred to the specimens in Hodgkinsis. But yeah, as I mentioned, there is a lot of in terms of taxonomy. I'll probably go through that in the end, but the taxonomy of the Mamenchisaurus is very interesting. They don't really clade together, so a lot of species don't actually are closer to other Mamenchisaurs than they are to other Mamenchisaurus species. So that means the Mamenchisaurus genus is considered paraphyletic, or basically not closely related. So it's very likely that a lot of these species will be described eventually as new species or new genera, really. So it's an interesting fact. In terms of size, M. Hodgkinsis is pretty big, a little bit smaller, about 21 to 22 meters, with a neck that's about 9 meters long. And estimated mass has been was originally at 45 tons, but now more recently they've kind of put it at about 14 to 18 tons, which is quite interesting. And yeah, really, really cool one. And you can see we've got the skull there. So look at this guy here. I really like the difference in the skull. Really, really tall skull, almost like vaguely brachiosaurid, and a big chin on him. A little bit more, you could say, basic compared to like these guys. Simple patterns. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll see this little club on their tail, which is quite interesting. Very similar to things like Dinosaurus. Yeah, really, really cool. I really like the textures on here, big graggly scales, all that. Probably going to be repeating myself a lot, but yeah, you can see proper feet, proper everything. Really, really cool. And I like the colors. There's a lot of great colors in this pack, which is really good. So yeah, we're going to let you go off and do your thing. So let you run off. Okay, so next up we have got Gananus. So let's have a look at this guy. There is another really, really cool one. Really, really interesting tall guy. Let's have a look. So, Mamenchisaurus jinzhangensis was described in 1998 by Yuzhong Zhang, Ku Li, and Kuihe Zhang. Was actually located about 200 meters away from the administrative headquarters of the town Meiwang in Zhejiang County, which is pretty cool. Another specimen also found about 10 kilometers away and became the paratype, and then another specimen was found about 10 kilometers from Zhang, and they all come from the Amper-Saximo Formation, so around the same age as a lot of the other ones, except Amvarensis that I said at the beginning. So the type specimen includes partial scapula and a complete coracoid, and also some fallen material, a complete skull, a hyoid bone. So they are pretty well known. Though the other specimens also kind of completed, so we get a pretty good idea of how this guy looks. Being really cool animals. You can see very interesting skull going on for that guy. Oh, hopefully not missing with me too much. Really awesome. Love the design of this guy. I like the difference. It's like a long animal. Really cool. So this guy was also actually considered pretty big, I believe. Let's see. Was actually estimated to be, biggest one so far, estimated to be about 20 to 26 meters or 66 to 85 feet in length originally. Though there have been some estimates kind of shrinking it down. About Paul or Gregorius Paul kind of estimated to be about 20 meters long and about 12 tons. But of course, it's estimates, so we don't really take them too much with the. Got to take them with a big grain of salt. And the skull itself was restored at about 55 centimeters, or about 22 inches long. And there were 4 teeth in the premaxilla, 14 to 16 in the maxilla. So the premaxilla is kind of the front of your mouth, the maxilla is the side, and the dentary is kind of the back with 17 to 19, which is quite interesting. All the kind of bottom of your jaw there. Quite interesting. But yeah, really big guy. I like the colors on this one. I think it looks cool. And I like he managed to make every one of these distinct. So really awesome. So we're going to let you run off and do your thing. Just don't walk in front of the hatcheries, please. Because you guys walking in front of my hatcheries makes life pain. Alright. Anyway, next up, I believe the next one we've got is Synecandodorum. So that's kind of a famous one. We'll get into that one. Really cool. Really beautiful. Here we got Synecandodorum. Look at this beautiful guy. I love look at your face as well. Really cool. So Synecandodorum was actually found in August of 1987, where a cervical rib was found in an expedition in the Zhonga Basin of Zhejiang, which is also part of the Sungulu Formation. It actually makes it one of the few Mamenchisaurs known out of the Sichuan Basin, which is quite interesting. And it's dated to about 162 million years ago, so early late Jurassic, you could say. And the original quarry of the specimen, location of the quarry, was found at actually about 22 kilometers or 14 miles north of an abandoned town called Zhangjiangmao. However, the original authors actually incorrectly put the coordinates in the subsequent study. And the coarse and weak sandstone was preserved the specimen. It actually kind of meant they had to remove a lot of the specimen. And the specimen was named as the new species of Mamenchisaurus, Mamenchisaurus canadorum, by 1993 by Dale Russell and Zhong Zheng, and the name refers to the China-Canada Dinosaur Project, which found the specimen. So overall, the specimen is known from a left mandible, right dentary, a vomer, pterygoid, cervical vertebrae, and some ribs, some neural arches as well, but there was a limited amount of bone at the clump face, and it's believed the vertebra kind of broke away during decomposition before it was actually buried. And then in 2023, just a recent study, it was redescribed, and they could not locate some of the things like the vomer, the quadrate, things like that, and then found it to be outside the Mamenchisaurus species clade, as I mentioned. So it's actually considered more closely related to Xingzhen Titan, but they refrain from taxonomization until the type specimen has been reevaluated, so M. constructus. So once we get a good description of M. constructus, which is the type species Mamenchisaurus, it's likely that these guys are all going to be split into their own genuses, or potentially a few of them. So we'll see how that goes. There's also been some two large cervical vertebrae found from that formation, and it's believed to be because of Syndicanidorum being that size. It actually could means that Mamenchisaurus syndicanidorum could be estimated to be one of the largest dinosaurs of all time, though that estimate's kind of neither here nor there. They could not support like the referral of these vertebrae to the specimen, and there's also an undescribed specimen in museums in the China University of the Geosciences of Beijing that has actually labeled it as Syndicanidorum, but we don't really know if it is yet, and consider that premature to kind of refer that large pair of cervical vertebrae to Syndicanidorum. So yeah, very much a lot of taxonomy today. In terms of size, M. Syndicanidorum is kind of considered the largest, though it's quite fragmentary. The cervical vertebrae is actually 1.9 times longer, 1.1.9 times longer than M. hochiensis, so it's believed to have at least a 26 meters in length, at least, and a 12-meter neck. However, in 2023, it was given a lower estimate of about 14, a longer estimate actually, about 14 to 15 meters in length of the neck in comparison to using Titan, though it can't be too certain, and actually possesses the longest cervical rib of any sauropod dinosaur. So, for example, the cervical rib is about 4.2 meters long. In comparison, Sauroposeidon, which is another very large long-necked dinosaur, only has a 3.4 meter long one. And yeah, there is estimates suggesting that could have got up to 45 meters and 80 tons, but this based on those two cervical vertebrae, but we really don't think that could be the case. It could be possible, but we don't really know. Those two big cervical vertebrae could make him one of the biggest dinosaurs of all time. The most recent estimates put them about 26 meters or so. That's kind of the most likely ones, ignoring those big cervical vertebrae. So yeah, really, really cool. Really love the color on this guy. There's one that you get like red and black, and it looks really, really nice. Nice distinguished from this guy as well. Looks cool. Definitely a big fan. So that's going to be our second to last Mamenchisaurus. So now we can not worry about you. Next up, we have got our last Mamenchisaurus. So this is the smallest one. We've got M. youngi. So this is a really, really cool one. So really little guy, but still really cool. So M. youngi. So M. youngi was described in 1996 from the Upper Saxemia Formation, and a local quarry site near the village of Zhejiang in the Sichuan province found the remains in 1987. And its name is named in honor of the paleontologist C.C. Young, who originally named Mamenchisaurus. So the holotype specimen is very complete and mostly articulated, preserving all the vertebrae from the head down to the tail, the 8-tailed vertebrae. Also preserved is the pelvic girdle, pectoral girdle, and all 4 limbs. And actually has a nearly complete skull, so we have a pretty good idea of what M. youngi looks like, which is pretty cool. And in terms of its size, it was actually one of the smallest ones. I believe actually the smallest one. About the same size as Constructus. So it's one of the smaller species, but it's known from complete remains, or relatively complete. The type specimen was about 16 meters long, or about 52 feet long, with a 6.5 meter long, or about 21 foot long neck. And the mass is estimated to be about 7 tons, using volumetric techniques as well. So that's quite interesting. So another one of the smaller ones, and as I mentioned, we're going to look at a little bit of the taxonomy since we've finished with these guys. As you can see, they're all quite different from each other. You can see that going on here. As I mentioned, it's the most recent taxonomy, I believe 2023. This is the most recent one. Looking at M's Canidorum, so it actually shows that a lot of Mamenchisaurus are not that closely related to each other. So it even some species, some specimens that have been considered the same species are not that closely related to each other. So there's the referred kind of specimen, and also the holotype of Mamenchisaurus honchurensis is actually not that closely related. Mamenchisaurus constructus is actually more closely related to Balusaurus and Chizunlong, and then Mamenchisaurus syndicanidorum is more closely related to Xenolin Titan. So that's really, really interesting. And as I've mentioned, of course, that Avarensis, or this one here, is actually believed 30 million years later in the early Cretaceous, so that's very likely that could be its own species. So this shows how messy taxonomy can be sometimes, and how waste buckets kind of mess everything up. So hopefully we get that all sorted out soon. But yeah, we're going to let you run off and do your thing. And plus, you get to teach a little bit about taxonomy. So let's just make sure you all get out of my way. Okay. Oh, we're going to have to turn that off as well. So let's just do that quickly. I hate that they don't close automatically. It used to, but not anymore. You can go away. Oh, anyway, next up we have got Apatosaurus. So we've got two species of Apatosaurus coming up. So we're going to be starting off with a more famous species, I'd say, Apatosaurus ajax. There we've got Apatosaurus ajax. So Apatosaurus is a really old genus, as I'm going to mention. It was named actually by Marsh in 1877, so it's a very old genus. But there has been a lot of species described and then split. Obviously, Brontosaurus was originally lumped into Apatosaurus, and then in 2015 brought back again. So there has been a lot of taxonomic changes within Apatosaurus itself. But as of today, we have two species. So this is the earlier first one. So this was Apatosaurus ajax. This was named by Marsh in 1877 after Ajax, which is a hero in Greek mythology, and was originally described as a juvenile specimen as the holotype, and is actually less studied than Brontosaurus and A. Louisi just because it's less complete than the other holotypes. But there has been many specimens that have been assigned to these guys, and they typically date from the late Cambrian to early Tithonian in age, so about 150 to 160 million years ago, or even 140 probably. In 2015, the only the Ajax holotype was assigned to the species, and other ones were actually referred to Brontosaurus, which was changed, or even its own taxon. However, they only differed from a few characteristics, and actually suggested that Altosaurus imus may actually be a junior synonym of A. ajax, which is quite interesting. So that's all the taxonomy there. So I'm not going to go I can go a little bit into the description. So the first kind of species is A. ajax. That's the first one found. Then it was described as in Brontosaurus, and then Brontosaurus was lumped to Apatosaurus. That's the simplest way to put it. I'm putting it really simply. It's a lot more complicated than that. So lumped into Apatosaurus, and in 2015, Brontosaurus was described again, and now there's two species of Apatosaurus into a Brontosaurus, two species of Apatosaurus, A. ajax and A. louisiae, and then Brontosaurus, I believe, is Brontosaurus excelsus, Yanapan, actually three, and Parvus. You say that. But yeah, this is the two species of Apatosaurus. This is Ajax here. So we're going to let them run off and do their thing. Really, really beautiful. And you can see got the correct feet and everything. I'll just stop again. You can see one of the main things that sets these guys apart from other Diplodocus is they're actually quite thick. As you can see, they don't have quite the long neck and tails, but they still do have like long neck and tails. But compared to like Diplodocus, they're a lot bulkier and heavier, a little bit of a bigger build, and you can see got the big feet, obviously with the correct kind of feet there, which is really, really cool. Big toes and big feet and all that. I swear people think I probably have a foot fetish because of how much I'm going about dinosaur feet. But anyway, but we can see that wonderful long tail that it would use and that big thick neck that they would have had in comparison to a lot of the Diplodocids. Be a really, really awesome animal. Love A. ajax. So I'm going to let you run off and do your thing. Just hope you guys get out of the way. I really like the pattern on these guys as well. They're very similar to, of course, to the base one in the game. But yeah, really, really cool animals. So just hope that you guys move away. We'll watch them do this animation because it's cute. At least we've got plenty of space for these guys. Okay, next up, we've got our next species. This is Apatosaurus Louisi. So another really cool one. So this is Apatosaurus Louisi, or Louise, you could say. So this guy, a little bit better known. So these guys were named by Holland in 1916 and was first known as a partial skeleton that was found in Utah. The holotype, and there's a few referred specimens as well. The former two consist of vertebral column, and the latter two actually have a skull and nearly complete skeleton. So we have a much better idea of what a Louisier looks like compared to a Ajax, which is quite interesting. And they pretty much all come from the late Cambrian of the Dinosaur National Monument. And in 2015, Tashop et al. Found a type specimen of a Laconis, actually a synonym of a Louisier. So we do have a few specimens now referable to these guys, which is quite good. Really, really interesting animals. So there's pretty spot on, as you mentioned, neck posture is a little bit higher. You can see these guys, as I mentioned, probably a little bit more accurately known than Ajax. So this is probably gives you a better idea of what Apatosaurus should look like. But you got that very charismatic, like diplodocid head. And these guys, as you can see, they don't have quite that long neck a lot of other diplodocids have, but very thick and powerful. You know, Bronto Smash, all that. Apatosaurus is quite famous for its big, wide neck, and it's just generally much bulkier frame. Also very, very tall and compact. You can see it's almost like kind of coming up like that. So these guys, a lot of debates on neck posture. You know, a lot of people think that they couldn't raise their head above their shoulders, but very likely this is probably the most accurate kind of posture for them. Pretty much all living tetrapods, and it's very unlikely that sauropods were the exception, that they would have their heads held at about a 45-degree angle. So this is probably a little bit too low, but this is pretty spot on, I'd say. But yeah, you can see the big round body there, big legs, and you can see very typical diplodocids. Got that fleshy hoof going on with the dew claw. You see these really big feet and all that. Still got quite a long tail as well. Still got the long tail of most diplodocids, just not as extreme as we'll see in like Diplodocus, because we got Diplodocus coming up next. But yeah, really, really awesome. Nice to see a well-represented animal in here. So, you know, Ajax gives us a better idea of what Apatosaurus should look like. So yeah, but still really nice that we got all these species. Hawk Owl really likes to do all the different species. I've noticed he likes to put all the species in the genus. So that's why it was a bit weird that he did Brachiosaurus and made it really hard on himself with all these 6 different species. But yeah, really, really awesome. So I don't know why you turn around that way. Go run off. I don't know what's happening to your tail as well. Run off, do your thing. Okay. Okay, so we're going to have a look at next. We have got Diplodocus. So our next species of Diplodocus, we've got M. Carigii. So let's have a wonderful look at that guy. So there we are. Look at these wonderful guys. So this is Carnegie, or Carnegie, you could say. That's the proper way of saying it, I believe. So really, really awesome. I love this guy. So there are Diplodocus. Everyone knows I love Diplodocus. There are two species of Diplodocus. So this is considered technically the type now. So this is D. Carnegie. So it was named after Andrew Carnegie and is best known because of Dippy. If you guys know Dippy, she was the specimen that's near complete from the London Natural History Museum. And it was actually collected by Jacob Watman in the Carnegie Museum of the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and described by John Bell Hatcher in 1901, and is actually reconsidered now the type species of Diplodocus. So what happened was there was this first species was named D. longus, and actually was known from two complete specimens. Though because of the lack of good comparisons and genetic analyses, it was considered open dubium. So basically, N. Carnegie is now considered the type species, as T. longus was actually pretty much lumped into that now. And no, though technically still longus is considered the type species, it should be D. Carnegie. So that's kind of the best well-described one known. But yeah, really, really cool. Definitely a big fan of this guy. A nice way to distinguish themselves. You can see that really, really long face they have, and those really long necks. Like you compare them to the Apatosaurs. You can see A. Louisi here. You can see much shorter, stouter bodies. These guys are really, really long. These super long tails, super long necks, very gracile legs or very thin legs. They got the hoof and the dew claw going on. That looks really, really nice. Big feet as well. I love the pattern on it as well. It's like a very stripy, and the other species, Halum, has got the spikes. So it's nice that we get a little bit of variation with the spikes and things. Love the texture. You can see some big scales and the smaller scales. All those wonderful wrinkles. That stupidly long tail. It just looks so long. It's so cool. I really love how this Diplodocus came out. And of course, you get all these different variations and things. Really, really wonderful. So that's that's D. Carnegie. So that's cool. So let's get out of here, and we'll let them run off and do their thing. And then we'll have a look at the next species. I don't know why I had to do that right there in front of me. Oh. Silly. Of course he had to do it. Right then and there. Okay, so now you gotta get out of the way. Get out of the way from me, pretty please. And then you sit there, of course. Okay. This is the last step we're going to happen for a while until we got the next ones. Okay, cool. You can see all the wonderful variety we've got going on here. Really, really cool. You see, there's lots of rig editing as well, so a lot of these smaller species, especially the Momentosaurus, are like rig edited, like Nigersaurus and things like that, just to better fit all that variety. So you're sleeping there, or having a chillax there. I really love that animation. I love all the social animations that dinosaurs have. So next up, we're going to have a look at the last species as well. We've got Diplodocus Halum. So we've got here, this is Halum, so Diplodocus Halum, and you can see the difference as well. See, it's got different colors, but also you can see this one's got a lot more spikes on it. It's kind of famous for the Diplodocus, like Walking with Dinosaurs had their really famous spikes as well. I think that looks so cool. But anyway, this is Diplodocus Halum. So this was first described in 1991 by Gillette and as a Seismosaurus. So this was a species that was originally Seismosaurus. It was Seismosaurus halley, which was a partial specimen based on vertebrae, ribs, and pelvis. And its name actually honors two people, Jim and Ruth Hall of Ghost Ranch, and George Ovleski later suggested the name S. Hallorum to make it a genitive plural. So then amended the name. So it was originally Halo and then Hallorum, so basically it includes two people now. And it's been used like that from now on. And in 2004, there was a presentation in the annual conference of the Geological Society of America, made the case that Seismosaurus is actually a junior synonym of Diplodocus. And this was followed by a much more detailed report in 2006 that reassigned the species Diplodocus hallorum as Diplodocus, but also speculated it could be the same species as D. longus, which is probably not the case. The position of D. hallorum should be regarded as the species D. longus is taken by authors as a redescription of Supersaurus, and actually refuting the hypothesis that Seismosaurus and Supersaurus was the same. The taxonomy between Seismosaurus, Supersaurus, and Diplodocus is quite interesting, and I'm not going to get into that too much. And then there was a 2015 analysis of diplodocid relationships, noted that these opinions are based more on the complete referred specimens of D. longus, and however the authors of the analysis concluded that those are likely the same species of D. hallorum, that D. longus itself is a nomen dubium. Okay, so that's really, really interesting. So the taxonomy there. Though I believe some of the differences are in size as well. Let me find the differences in size. I believe there's not too much difference. There is differences in size, though. D. Carnegie is actually still quite long. D. Carnegie got to about 24 to 26 meters, or about 79 to 85 feet. Though more bottom mass estimates also put it at about 12 to 14 tons. Though D. hallorum was larger, so D. hallorum was actually originally estimated to be like 33 meters, and then estimated to be like 45 meters, or even 52 meters, and 100 metric tons. So putting it in comparison, things like Amphicoelius and Marapunosaurus. But more recent evidence suggests that it was basically a lot smaller than that, or at least more realistic, so about like 29, 30 meters and about 23 metric tons. So bigger than Carnegie, but not that huge, kind of 45 meter long example there. But these guys would have been quite long, and still actually considered probably one of the longest dinosaurs known. So yeah, still a really, really cool animal. It's come out wonderfully. So we can see all these wonderful species coming out here. Really, really awesome. We'll have a little break. Hawk Owl really did a wonderful job. We'll look at all these wonderful sauropods. So we're only about halfway, I'd say. Yeah, about halfway. Maybe a little bit more than halfway. But next up, we've got another few species here. So next up, we've got Camarasaurus, and we're going to be going through the 3 different species of Camarasaurus. Sorry. So we're going to go through these guys. The different species. So we're going to be starting off. The first species is the Camarasaurus lentus. Okay, so this is C. lentus, Camarasaurus. So there is believed to be about 3 or maybe 4 species of Camarasaurus. So there's C. grandis, C. lentus, C. louisi, and C. supremus. C. louisi is often considered uncertain, so it was originally described as its own genus, Catharosaurus, but then was redescribed as Camarasaurus. Though it's in a debate whether it should be considered as distinct genus, or should it be considered another Camarasaurus species, or another Camarasaurus species. But yeah, this is the species C. lentus. So C. lentus is the smallest, and its main way to tell them apart is body size and biostratigraphy. So this is where they were found in the rock layers, and typically how old they are. So I believe C. lentus is the actually the youngest of it. Let me check. Yeah, it's actually the youngest, which is interesting. So, in terms of the stratigraphy, C. grandis is the oldest species. That's the middle one. And then it would have been C. Louisi, or whatever that one is. And then you have C. grandis, and then C. lentis. C. grandis, C. lentis, and then Supremus in the uppermost layers. So they kind of got big, small, big, and then again. So this is the smallest. Well, they're kind of growing up as they're going on. So this is the smallest one. C. grandis is the middle one. This is the smallest one, and then they got biggest as a Supremus. Though they could have obviously very much be just one species through time or something like that. There's not that much in, except for their size that really distinguish them. They're really only size-based differences. But there are probably some minor characteristics that distinguish them, but they're pretty much indistinguishable from each other. Be a really, really cool one here. You can see that wonderful Camarasaurus look. You can see that really interesting face that Camarasaurus have, and you can't really see them because of the lips or the keratinous beak, you could say, or kind of. They don't have a beak as per se as like a lot of other animals, but they likely had some cornified skin around their mouth. Maybe that looked like a beak. But yeah, they had big pencil-like teeth that were really good at raking leaves and things like that. Kind of mid-sized sauropod, smaller necks, a little bit taller as well. So kind of like an earlier Macronarian. They're really, really cool. I believe this species as well was, as I mentioned, the smallest. These guys, let me check. These guys would have been about, C. lentis, which is the smallest, is about 15 meters long, and the largest one is Supremus that got about 23, so it's 16, 18, 23. That's kind of the size differences. So that's very interesting. So these are the smallest, I believe the smallest, but medium-sized, general considered sauropod. Max size of C. lentis, which is the most common species, 15 meters. The largest species, about 18 meters. I think there's an argument that can be made that they're all pretty much the same species. But I'm not a taxonomist, so what do I know? But anyway, let's have a look at these guys. Really, really cool. So that's C. lentis. Next up, we got C. grandis. Hopefully, as long as you don't get in the way of... oh, cool. Yeah, they're not getting in the way. That's good. Next up, we've got Camarasaurus lentis. grandis. You can see these guys are definitely a bit bigger. We'll have a look at you since you are in the kind of a nice position. Really, really cool. So these guys are mid of the road, and also occurred in earlier layers of the Morrison. So basically, they got bigger over time. Generally, as I mentioned, the most common one was C. grandis. Yeah, really, really cool. With Supremus being the last one. So very, very cool. So these guys, as I mentioned, Morrison, kind of stratigraphy going on there. So these guys, in terms of their more basal taxonomy, they are considered basal macrodarian. So they're very basal to the group that would lead to things, of course, like Brachiosaurus, Europasaurus, and then eventually into the Titanosaurs that we'll see in the late Cretaceous. And I'll get into them as we get a chance. Yeah, really, really interesting. And occupied that different ecology. They had much more robust skulls and larger teeth that very much stronger teeth that were like chisels that were better adapted to breaking apart harder food and things like that. But yeah, really, really cool. In terms of habitat, would have lived with a lot of these late Jurassic animals, like Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, so a lot of these larger late Jurassic North American sauropods they would have been living with. Also things like Allosaurus and Stegosaurus and Dryosaurus. The Morrison Formation is a very large, rich formation that occurs over, I believe, 10 million years or so. So there's definitely a lot of history there. But yeah, there we have C. grandis, really, really cool. Let me check if that's right. That should be right. That is C. grandis. Yeah, that is C. grandis because this is the next biggest one. But yeah, really, really awesome. So gonna let them run off and do their thing. And then we have the last species, Supremus, which is the biggest one. So we can see the latest and greatest is Supremus. These were the ones from the end of the Morrison. So I believe that was because the Morrison got wetter over time. So it started out quite dry, but it did get wetter and wetter over time, and that could allow like larger dinosaurs. Though I think there's an argument that could be made that these are just like really large one species. I don't think anyone's really had that serious of a look into taxonomy for a while, because I mentioned that the last few species described was like in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, really, really cool in that regard. I really like the different colors as well. It reminds me of the Poetosaurus from the Isle, or you could say the Stomping Lands. That's where I originally knew it from. But yeah, really, really cool color. Nice big head. Probably fits the one in game best. Much thicker neck, a lot better than the one in the original game. And nice long legs. You can see they got that gentle slope to them, very similar to a lot of other macronarians or even Brachiosaurus that get into. Of course, the proper feet and all that, and a shorter tail. I think Camarasaurus is just such a beautiful looking animal. I like the shape of its head. Really gives it a distinct look from a lot of the sauropods. But yeah, really, really cool. And all of you guys will like that. And they're actually quite common in terms of there's over 500 specimens of Camarasaurus known, including 50 partial skeletons. So it is quite a well-known dinosaur. There's been lots of discoveries around it and all that. And its name means chambered lizard. So Camarasaurus means chambered lizard because it has hollow chambers in its cervical vertebrae or in its neck vertebrae, which is quite interesting. And yeah, really, really cool. And they actually have a European relative that's called Dinosaurus, which is really cool. See, another really cool animal. It's hard to like, because it's already in the game, and I don't want to rattle on too much. I'm more kind of interested today about talking about some of the differences within the species, because there's a lot of different species here today. And it's kind of hard with Camarasaurus because it's mainly just size that distinguishes them, notably. But yeah, really, really cool. Love the different colors. Definitely come out well. You can see the grey there. You can see Lentus, Grandis, Supremus. You can see they're all kind of all different sizes there. So we're going to let you run off and do your thing. Oh, we won't. Oh, we'll have to wait till you guys have finished that. Because we've got Brachiosaurus. So let's have a look at Brachiosaurus then. So our last kind of Jurassic sauropod, to save the best for last, of course, we've got Brachiosaurus. So this is Brachiosaurus antithorax, or altithorax. So these guys, there was originally two species, Brachiosaurus branchi, but that was renamed as Giraffatitan, and I covered that in the last mod spotlight. I thought that was a really cool one to add, because that's the one that Jurassic Park's Brachiosaurus is a lot more based on. But this is the true Brachiosaurus. So this is a genus of sauropod dinosaur that came from the late Jurassic in North America from the Morrison, and was described by Elmer Sir Riggs in 1903 when the fossils were found in the Colorado River of western Colorado. And its name itself, Brachiosaurus, means arm lizard, and antithorax means deep chest, so it means arm lizard, deep chest. And it was this very large dinosaur, and up until like the 90s, it was actually considered for a very long time one of the largest dinosaurs of all time, or the largest dinosaur of all time, which is really interesting. But most recent estimates put it between 18 to 22 meters and about 28 to 46 tons. Though a lot of those specimens are actually based on juvenile specimens, and there are specimens that show that Brachiosaurus could have potentially got quite a bit bigger. I believe like some estimates like 26, 28 meters. So yeah, it could have been a pretty big animal. But Brachiosaurus, another thing that makes it quite unique is that it's got a very giraffe-like body plan. So it's got very long front legs. Most sauropods have longer hind limbs than forelimbs. Brachiosaurus is the opposite, where it kind of gets its name arm lizard. So it's believed this is to influence their ecology, so they would have been a lot more high browsing, which is really, really cool. And just gives it that cool, iconic look. And you can see the difference in Giraffatitan. I didn't pick up Giraffatitan just because I put it in the other video, but you can see it's got a much longer skull than Giraffatitan, or you could say the other Brachiosaurus. Also, it's got a lot more of a bulkier, roundish body and a little bit of a longer tail. Probably a little bit of a shorter neck as well. A lot more, like, not quite as sloped as Giraffatitan was. But yeah, really, really awesome. I love this Brachiosaurus. I love, like, the dark colors on it. And I like this. I just think the colors fit perfectly. Brachiosaurus, if you had a gun to my head, Brachiosaurus would be the dinosaur I'd have to say is my favorite. It's just such an awesome animal. Really distinct. And you can see it's properly rendered here. You can see the really long legs. I like all the wonderful textured work on it. You can see it's got the proper long legs. Also the around, proper hoof, kind of fleshy hoofs going on. And back legs and everything. So yeah, really spot on. Really nice spot on head as well. You can see lots longer skull, not quite as tall nasal crest. I like the added bit of color in there. But yeah, really, really awesome. Love this Brachiosaurus. Another one that's been knocked out of the park by Hawk Owl. So we can let you run off, do your thing. And next up, so this is all the Jurassic sauropods done. Don't you dare go where you think you're going. But we have got going to the late Cretaceous now. So we've got a couple of the kind of later Cretaceous Dicraeosaurs, which are quite interesting. So they're going to be starting off with Amargasaurus. He's a really cool little guy. Awesome. So Amargasaurus, a really cool little Dicraeosaur that from the early Cretaceous of South America. And what really makes it distinct, these guys are quite small for a sauropod as well, about 9 to 13 meters long, which is actually quite small for a sauropod. But the main thing that distinguishes it, we'll actually just let it play over for a little bit and kind of give us its long neck. There we are. So the main thing that distinguishes it is its kind of spikes going along its neck. So there's actually been a bit of a debate whether it had either keratin, so maybe like the horns of like antelope, it was covered in keratin, whether it was covered in skin, almost like a sail, you could say like Spinosaurus or like chameleons, for example, maybe a bit of fat. So there's been a lot of study and debate talking about into that, with actually the most recent study actually looking at the kind of structure and morphology, actually suggests that they were not actually covered in a keratinous spike. They're actually more likely covered in a sail or skin. So you can see that's how it's been represented here. It's almost like a fleshy like hump going on, almost like a hump, but not quite. Maybe just a lot of skin and flesh around there. So it's not 100% that's the case, but that's the most recent evidence on that. And to corroborate that, it suggests that it was likely that it was covered in skin or sail. And the evidence to suggest this is things like highly vascularized growth marks. That adds credence to that theory. So that's the most likely interpretation for now, but it's very likely that other evidence could suggest that it could be different. But most recent evidence suggests that is basically what it looked like. They wouldn't have the kind of keratinous spikes that were previously hypothesized for these guys. And then there's Brachiosaurus, which is basically a Amargasaurus, but all the horns or all the spikes kind of go that way, or all the ribs go that way. So it's developing, but that's the most likely interpretation for now, or the most recent interpretation, and that's what Hockow went with. So that's really cool there. The Cryosaurs are kind of famous for having really short necks for sauropods. Brachiotrachelopan is actually a Cryosaur and has the shortest neck of any sauropod. So you can see that really long there. These guys are also Diplodocids. So these guys were late surviving Diplodocids along with the Rebeccasaurids, which is quite interesting. Really cool. And you can see they've got that round head. These guys were most likely adapted for browsing on low or mid-tier kind of plants and things like that. So that's kind of helped with their ecology. You can see shorter neck, big round body, also a little bit of a sail going on the tail, on the body as well. Correct sauropod feet as per usual. Really cool. And then we've got that really long tail that gives it away as almost like Diplodocid. The Cryosaurs still had quite a long tail that they probably would have used for defense, especially since they're not quite as big as a lot of other sauropods, so they probably had to defend themselves a lot more. Yeah, really cool. So I'm going to let you run off and do your thing. And you need to get out of the way. Don't you go anywhere near here. So next up, we have got Nigersaurus, so another late surviving group of Diplodocids. Let's have a look at these guys. So these guys could... you got to do that again to me. But I could say these guys could be a bit smaller, but they're actually pretty spot on. Really goofy animals, you could say. So this is Nigersaurus, which means obviously lizard from Niger. These guys are Abecasaurids, so they're quite an interesting group of late surviving Diplodocids that kind of evolved these kind of wide faces, and these guys are kind of the poster child of that group. So these guys lived during the Middle Cretaceous, about 115 to 105 million years ago, and they were found in the El Hartz Formation in Niger, and was first described in 1976, but then was only named in 1999, Nigersaurus atsapuli. So it was actually named, the genus name means Niger reptile, and species name honors Fuller Tepek, which was the paleontologist who discovered those remains. So they're quite small for a sauropod. They've got about 9 meters long and had a short neck and weighed about 1.9 to 4 tons, about the same size as an elephant. They had a very interesting skull. As you can see, their skull is quite specialized for with a wide muzzle, lots and more than 500 teeth that actually replace themselves every 14 days. And they may have actually had a keratinous sheath as well, so these guys would have been quite well adapted for potentially grazing on low plants, which is quite interesting. And actually, unlike a lot of tetrapods, the tooth-bearing bones on the jaws rotated transversely relative to the animal, so the teeth are look far from the front. So it basically has that wide mouth, and all the teeth are at the front, which is pretty weird. And like other sauropods, they have air sacs that help make their skeleton lighter. So as I mentioned, these guys are Abecasaurids, so these guys kind of come from that group, Diplodocids, but they were a later surviving group and kind of evolved the whole thing going on. And they lived in riparian habitats, so they would have probably fed on plants like angiosperms, horsetails, things like that, and would have lived with lots of other... These guys particularly would have lived in the Erhards Formation, so they would have had living with a lot of other interesting animals. And there's been lots of evidence in looking to like their posture, things like that. These guys would have lived with like Sarcosuchus, Suchomimus, animals like that. In terms of like research into it, it's been quite well researched because it's quite weird. Got a long tail, quite similar to other Diplodocids, not too different in that regard. It's mainly just the head and neck, a little bit shorter. There's been a lot of research into its head posture. So actually its head is weird. Its head would have been basically held in a pretty weird position, like almost down. So that's would have been helped with grazing. That's how they figured that out was by looking at the position of the inner ear, as they could tell, like looking at how their neutral head posture would have looked. So basically, they would have always been looking down, as you can kind of see, hopefully in this one. Yeah, so they always would have been looking down like that. That's probably the best evidence we can say of these guys. And looking at that, they would have had their heads down like that all the time. In terms of their diets and feeding, these guys seem to be non-selective feeders, so they have a wide mouth, and they would have had teeth that constantly replace themselves. So they would have been pretty much like eating low growing ferns and wouldn't be able to chew them. They would just swallow them whole, have a really high replacement rate as well, which is really interesting. There's actually a 2023 study that looked at the limb bones of these guys, and these guys actually don't have a lot of some of the adaptations for being big and heavy, so they probably didn't have a lot of the lost a lot of the adaptations for carrying a lot of big weights, and they actually would have been lighter on weight in comparison to their size. So that's quite interesting. Really, really cool. As I mentioned, they're Rebeccasaurus, and they're in the specific family Nigersauri, along with Dimatosaurus and Telenura. So these are kind of their own group. There's also Lemosaurus, which is Rebeccasaurus and Limosaurus and things like that, other Rebeccasaurids. Be a really, really cool animal. How can you not love your Nigersaurus? So yeah, really, really cool. So we're going to let you run off and do your thing. I would say the only thing I'd really change is just make these guys smaller, about the same size as these guys. And please get out of the way. I want to show off some of the larger sauropods. We've got a couple of the late Jurassic, late Cretaceous Titanosaurs to show off, and then we are done. So really, really cool. Okay, so next up we have got, we'll just wait for you. Next up we have got everyone's favorite from the movies, especially recent movies, we've got Dreadnoughtus. So here's a really wonderful guy. Look at him, isn't he wonderful? So this is Dreadnoughtus. So these guys are a type of titanosaur. So we're finally getting into the titanosaurs. So these are a titanosaur, the single species known, Dreadnoughtus saranki, which is known from two partial skeletons from the Upper Cretaceous, so quite late, companion to Maastrichtian, about 76 to 70 million years ago. Found in the Santa Cruz formation province, or in the Serra Folenza formation, and I believe was the first kind of remains were found in 2005, and then in 2009 they were transported to Philadelphia for study, and then described in 2015, and then scanned and all that. So it's really cool. And one thing as well, when this was described, it was kind of touted. It's one of the biggest dinosaurs of all time, and there's been debates on what its true size is. Some estimates put it up to like 70 tons. More recent estimates put it like 40 tons. Things like that. So the most recent, we'll talk about the most recent estimates. So the most recent estimates, like 2015, per about 22 to 38 tons. In 2020, pretty much 48 to 49 metric tons is kind of the most recent, and potentially probably about 25 or 26 meters in length. So it's still definitely up there with some of the biggest dinosaurs, but and probably one of the biggest well-known sauropods, because these specimen is actually pretty well known. But there are things like Argentinosaurus and Titan that would have been larger, potentially Alamosaurus, as we'll get into next. Yeah, really, really cool. There's been a lot of studying to getting this guy's size right, so we do have a pretty good idea. It's about 49 tons, 26 meters with a 12-meter long neck, 11-meter head and neck length of 12 meters, neck only length of 11 meters, torso height of about 5, torso length of about 5 meters, tail length of about 9 meters, and a shoulder height of 6 meters. So really, really cool. It's actually considered pretty incomplete. For comparison, Dreadnoughtus is 45% complete, which is mirrored about 75% For comparison, like dinosaurs like Paralititan and Argentinosaurus are only like 7 to 8% complete. The next one, the Tyrannosaurus rhedodavis, is only about 44% complete or 45% mirrored complete. So Dreadnoughtus is probably the most well-known large sauropod in terms of its kind of relative completeness. And it's really interesting as well. They actually found some soft tissues and collagen in these guys, and actually suggests that the Dreadnoughtus may have been trapped in a rapid burial event, and basically could have died in a flood or buried in a flood. So that's really really cool. In terms of posture, a lot of reconstructions put it of its head out flat, but this is the most accurate kind of version of it. So it should be holding its head up high, and it, being a macrodarian, a lot of macrodarians have that really tall face to it, which is really really cool. Yeah, really love Dreadnoughtus, and I forgot to mention about. I'll mention Nigersaurus as well because we're on to Titanosaurs as well. There's this recent species, I just forgot the name of it, but there's a recent species of Titanosaur from South America that actually convergently evolved a very wide face like Nigersaurus. So it actually shows that these guys may have actually kind of took over later in the Cretaceous and took over the niche of those Rebeccasaurids like Nigersaurus in South America. So very likely those Brachiosaurus could have gone extinct for whatever reason, and then that niche became re-available. So then some Titanosaurs managed to re-evolve into that niche, which is really really cool. But yeah, here's a wonderful Dreadnoughtus. I love the kind of patterns on it. It really reminds me of Prehistoric Planet. I'd actually love if we did like a Prehistoric Planet inspired skin just for this, like a one-off, because I like the Prehistoric Planet skin with like the red on it. It's really, really nice. But yeah, really, really awesome Dreadnoughtus. I love how he did the textures and everything. Really, really awesome. So yeah, let's get you out of the way, and then we'll move on to our last animal. So this is the latest and greatest, you could say. We have got... Oh, are you going to walk? No, you're not going to get in the way, hopefully. No, you'll be right. We've got Alamosaurus. Look at this wonderful guy here, Alamosaurus. Oh, have a look at you. Probably have a look at you since you're kind of out of the shadow there. Look at this beautiful guy. So this is Alamosaurus. Okay, so Alamosaurus, which means Ojo Alamo lizard. These guys are a type of titanosaur known for as Alamosaurus sanjuensis. These guys come from the latest Cretaceous, so right at the end of the Cretaceous, from the late Cretaceous period Maastrichtian age, from southwestern North America. So there's a couple weird things about this guy, and it was originally thought to not get that big. The first original specimens were actually quite small, but actually some later specimens revealed that these guys could get about 30 meters. So these guys were basically in the running for the biggest dinosaurs and comparable to like Argentinosaurus and Wetosaurus in size. And one thing as well, these guys were the only titanosaur living in the US after like 30 million years. And we don't know how they got there. There's believed they either came up from South America or potentially from Asia. But these are the only titanosaurs known from the late Cretaceous or like Maastrichtian age America after about a 30 million year absence of sauropods in North America. And that means these guys would have lived with T-Rex. So if you guys want to have big sauropods, with T-Rex, the Alamosaurus is you guys. So that's really cool. So yeah, and most recent estimates suggest these guys would have been similar in size and mass of like Dreadnoughtus. And the estimates probably about the largest individuals we know is about 26 meters and about 38 tons. Though they potentially could have got bigger. Estimates are estimates. There's some estimates put them at 80 tons, 30 meters, pretty much at that same size range with all those really large sauropods. So this was originally found in June of 1921 by Charles Whitney Gilmore. And the first specimen was actually quite small, which is interesting, and was found in New Mexico and was named by San Antonio, Texas, after the battle that was fought there. It was quite interesting. And there are some kind of Alamosaurus bearing rocks is believed to be like around the Alamo Formation or the Kirtland Formation as well. And its name means Greek obviously means derived lizard, so Alamo lizard, or the term Alamo comes from the Spanish words for poplar tree, so it's the cottonwood tree. So basically means the poplar lizard, and the suffix graduates from the San Juan County, New Mexico, where it was found. And there have been some more specimens found, that kind of a juvenile specimen, but then actually found it actually got much bigger. And I mentioned that taxonomy is a little bit weird. Some have been saying it's more of a saltosaurine, so related to things like Saltosaurus or the Ornithocleidocolda, believed to be as well. But others have noted it actually seems to be. The most recent analysis actually suggests it's related to the Longosaura, so it's really related to things like Fucolongosaurus and Mesodontosaurus, based on that synapomorphies, and suggests that these guys would have had South American ancestors, which is probably likely, but it's a little bit here and there. What's notable is its age, as it was the only sauropod known from kind of the last 30 million years of the Cretaceous in North America. And as I mentioned, it probably migrated from South America up into North America and evolved into Apatosaurus, and then went extinct with the rest of the dinosaurs, or the non-avian dinosaurs, at the end of the Cretaceous. So another really cool thing about these guys, but yeah, really cool animal. Lived with Tyrannosaurus Rex and things like Oviraptor, Torosaurus, Triceratops, those kind of guys. So really awesome animal. Really nice to see these guys. I love how they've been reconstructed here. You know, they've got all the spikes on their body there. The Dreadnoughtus probably had some more osteoderms. That would be a cool thing to add. A lot of these later Titanosaurs were covered in osteoderms. You see big, thick neck that they had. Really sloped body as well. Really thick neck, big head, really thick limbs as well. A lot of actually Titanosaurs actually lost, especially later Titanosaurs, they lost pretty much a lot of they pretty much walked around on their knuckles all the time. So they lost a lot of their first digits as well. And you can actually see that in transition from a lot of different species. So Titanosaurs were pretty much walking around on their knuckles all the time. And then you can see here the big round feet there, long tail, and all these spiky little osteoderms on their back that are used to defend against T-Rex. But yeah, really awesome. So, that was a long one. So yeah, sauropod pack. I'm really glad this exists. I love sauropods. Sauropods would have to be probably one of my favorite groups. And it's nice that they get some love and a nice big pack today. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. So Hawkal, you did a wonderful job. I can't wait to see what you do next. And yeah, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to hit the little bell icon to get notified about anything. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, hope you guys like and subscribe, and bye-bye.